When I was a senior in college, my accounting professor, a guy I still think is one of the wisest men I've ever met, told us he was bringing in 2 guest speakers, a whole semester of finance, a room full of business and accounting majors about to walk into the working world. And for the final big talk, he wanted to give us advice that would actually carry us. So we're all sitting there, kind of buzzing, wondering who he was going to bring in. Maybe a billionaire, maybe somebody famous, some big name from Wall Street or Silicon Valley. He brings in 2 people, a married couple, the English professor and the conference services director. Neither of them was a finance person. Neither of them was rich. We sat there like, what? I'd seen them around campus for 4 years, always smiling, quiet, steady, a kind of contentment that you could feel before they even opened their mouths. And what they came in to share that day, looking back, was the most important financial advice I got in college. Today, I want to talk about the most important financial decision you'll ever make. It's not which stock to pick. It's not what house to buy. It's not which job to take. It's who you marry and how the 2 of you decide to handle money together. My name is Kyle Blackwell. I'm a certified financial planner, and I've spent almost 2 decades sitting with families working through their money, which means I've also spent almost 2 decades watching marriages either deepen or come apart over how they handle their finances together. This video is for anybody who's dating, engaged, married, or thinking about what marriage might look like. I want to walk you through what that couple shared with us, what I've watched play out in the lives of real married couples over 20 years, and the one decision that I think makes the biggest difference. Now back to the classroom. The professor and his wife sit down. We're all sort of confused about why they're there. And the husband, he just starts talking about their marriage, how they had been married for a long time, how they were happy in a way that had nothing to do with how much money they had, how they had built their financial life as a unit, not as 2 people splitting bills. And then he said the thing that I've never forgotten. They had one bank account. One. Everything they earned went into it. Everything they spent came out of it. They tithed together. They saved together. They dreamed together. They made decisions together. That was the whole secret. A room full of finance majors expecting a big, complicated answer about investing or wealth building. And the answer was, share an account with the person you love and stop keeping score. It sounds almost too simple to be the answer. But the longer I've done this work, the more convinced I am that it's the actual answer. I watch couples destroy themselves with separate accounts and complicated splits. I watch couples build remarkable lives on a shared account and a shared plan. It's not even close. Here's the part of the teaching that ties it all together for me. Genesis chapter 2, verse 24 says, "A man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." Most people read that and think it's about intimacy. It is about intimacy, but oneness is bigger than that. Oneness includes intimacy, identity, and yes, finances. When 2 people get married, they become one, not 2 roommates with a marriage license, one unit with one mission, managing the resources God has trusted to them together. That language sounds heavy when you first hear it, but there's something so freeing about actually living it out. You stop competing. You stop keeping score. You stop the whole "I bought the groceries last week" running ledger that quietly poisons so many marriages. You start making decisions together. You start dreaming together. The money becomes a tool you both use to build something. Instead of a battleground, you both defend. Let me tell you the other version of this. I've seen it play out enough times that I want to give you a fictional couple to put a face on it. We'll call them Jake and Claire. Jake and Claire decided early on that they'd keep their finances separate. 2 paychecks, 2 accounts, each pays their own bills, mortgage gets split, utilities get split, each one handles their own credit cards and their own savings. It seems reasonable. It seems modern. It seems like grown-up adulting. But watch how it actually plays out. Claire's a traveling nurse, the higher earner. She's gone 100 nights a year. She comes home Friday after a brutal week. The dishes are piled up in the sink, and Jake's in the backyard cleaning his rifle. She gives him the look. The fight starts. It's about the dishes for about 30 seconds, and then it's about everything else. Her higher income, his lower income, her shoe collection, his hunting hobby, how much she's gone, how much he isn't pulling his own weight. Within 10 minutes, it's a full proxy war about identity, respect, and value. And here's the thing. That fight isn't really about any of those topics. It's about the structure underneath the marriage. When you split everything, every transaction becomes a small power struggle. Every dollar has a name on it. Every paycheck creates a tiny, silent scoreboard. That structure doesn't cause the fights. It creates the conditions where the fights have to happen. Jake and Claire aren't fighting because they're bad people. They're fighting because they set up a system that almost guarantees this kind of fight. Here's what I've watched in 20 years of this work. Couples who handle money as one unit, even when the income is unequal, even when the spending styles are different, tend to thrive. Couples who handle money as two units, sharing a household, tend to slowly erode. Not always, not in a week, but over years. It's the slow leak. It's the quiet drift. The small resentments that pile up because every dollar has a side. You don't notice it day to day. You notice it 10 years in, when the conversations have gotten shorter, the trust has gotten thinner, and you can't really remember the last time you dreamed together about anything bigger than the next month's budget. I've sat with high-earning couples whose marriages were quietly dying and low-earning couples whose marriages were thriving. And the variable wasn't the income. It was the structure. It was whether they had stayed two people or actually become one. If you're not married yet, here's what I'd want you to take from this. The conversation about money happens before the wedding, not after. Most couples don't do this. They focus on the flowers and the venue and the honeymoon. They walk into year one of marriage having never talked openly about debt, credit scores, spending habits, savings, or what they think the money is even for. Then they're shocked when month 3 brings the first real fight. If you're engaged or seriously dating, my recommendation is simple. Find a Christian premarital counselor or a pastor who's willing to walk you through the money conversation in detail. Lay your cards on the table, both of you. What you make, what you owe, what your credit score is, what you spend on, what you grew up believing about money. That one's so important. What scares you, what you hope for. That conversation is awkward, but it's nothing compared to the conversation you'll have after the honeymoon if there are surprises. If you're a pastor watching this, the premarital money conversation is one of the most important sessions you do. And most pastors I know will admit they don't feel equipped to lead it well. We've actually built a premarital track of the Purpose Playbook course specifically for this. It walks the couple through the conversation in a structured way without you having to be a financial expert. Reach out if you want to know how it works. One last thing while we're here. I'd be a bad financial planner if I didn't mention this. The average wedding in America right now costs around $33,000. Add the ring and the honeymoon, and you're closer to $45,000. $45,000 for a single day. I want to be careful here because weddings are joyful and meaningful, and you should celebrate. But let me ask the question gently. What if you cut your wedding budget in half and invested the difference? Or use it as a down payment on the house you're going to live in together? Or gave it a chunk of it away in honor of the marriage? Marriage is about how you spend your life together, not how much you spend on a single day. The wedding industry has done an amazing job convincing young couples that the size of the wedding correlates with the success of the marriage. It doesn't. In a lot of cases, it's the opposite. Some of the most stable marriages I've watched started with the simplest weddings. Some of the marriages that fell apart by year 3 started with weddings that looked like a magazine. Just something to think about. So here's what I want you to take from this. The most important financial decision you'll ever make is who you marry and how the two of you decide how to handle money together. One bank account, one budget, one set of goals, one direction. That's the structure that lets oneness actually happen. I know that's countercultural. Most of the advice you'll hear says the opposite. Keep things separate. Protect yourself. You never know what might happen. I've watched what comes out of that posture for 20 years. I'd rather give you the advice the English professor and the conference services director gave me when I was a senior in college. Become one, even with your money, especially with your money. I wrote a book called Purpose in Every Paycheck that goes deeper into this. The chapter on community has a lot more on marriage and on the friends and mentors who shape your financial future. Links in the description. And if you're a pastor doing premarital counseling, the Purpose Playbook premarital track is built for exactly this. Same link. Thanks for being here. I'll see you on the next one.